Welcome to Spotlight TV. I'm your host, Emily Zubi, and today we have one of our YPP members. Our YPP members are young professional philanthropists, and I met this very special entrepreneur at our Stiletto Strut recently and absolutely fell in love with her business. Can't wait for you to hear all about it. Our guest today is Kristy Blonsky. She is the founder, owner of a Pilates studio, Method K Pilates, and you're going to hear all about her story. Welcome to Spotlight, Kristy.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. I want to hear all about this. Is about you. This is about your story. I mean, I remember the first time that we spoke. I think we were on the phone for an hour, and it just flew by. I fell in love with your story.
I know. I feel like we couldn't even get off the phone with each other. It was like we just needed to get lunch. But I so appreciate you having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure. And yeah, you know, I've been teaching Pilates, I'd say probably about like 7 years or so. You know, I was a gymnast growing up. I was always an athlete, but it's funny, I never really thought that I would go into anything kind of like physical, any kind of like sport or activity like that as far as my career goes. I was always in sales and worked for a winery and whatnot. But you never know where life's going to take you. And so what really got me into it was actually through injury. And you'll meet a lot of people. I've met a lot of Pilates instructors who have discovered Pilates through injury because Pilates is a form of physical therapy. So
it's wonderful.
So yeah, I was actually coming home from my baby shower one day.
Oh, when you told me this was really heartbreaking, but what I will say is that sometimes the hardest things that you go through, you really find that resilience, and that's
Totally.
that's what I heard in your story. Like you turn the pain into purpose.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that's kind of how you have to look at life, right? You can't feel sorry for yourself or anything like that. I mean, we all go through different struggles, different moments where hardships in life, and you got to persevere and kind of move ahead. And lucky for me, I was totally fine. And my mom and my cousin who were in the car, they were fine. But yeah, coming home from the baby shower, got in an accident on the highway. I'm sure I closed that down for a little bit, but,
Wow.
you know, everything ended up being totally fine other than my back, you know, little injuries and whatnot. And with the body being so pliable during pregnancy, the year leading up, even the year after, you know, and I ended up having herniations in my lower back.
Wow.
And so
Pregnancy is so hard on the back. And I am someone who never had any back problems until I got pregnant. And then
I did.
lo and behold.
Same. I had the easiest pregnancy, actually. I feel bad saying that sometimes. I know people women definitely struggle with that. But it was easy breezy for me up until this point. So, excuse me. And, but anyways, so after, you know, a little bit of back injury, and it kind of just progressed, right? As your body's kind of going back to normal. I remember getting my son out of the crib one morning and twisting, and all of a sudden it was just like I couldn't move anymore. So my hips were all out of whack.
Wow.
Thank goodness I had a good girlfriend of mine who was, you know, living in Miami because I was new to Miami and I didn't have a big network or anything like that. And she said, I'm going to come get your son. I'm going to take care of him. You know, take care of yourself. And, you know, at the time I was married and my husband was opening a restaurant. So very busy, you know, and anyways, I had a chiropractor. I ended up just started Googling on-call chiropractors. And thank goodness, Dr. Mark, he answered. And he came to my rescue, and he was the first step. He actually, because I couldn't walk it after that, you know, at that certain point. So I needed somebody to help me get off the floor. So he came to my home and helped me do that.
Wow.
And yeah, and after that, I started going to physical therapy. I did end up getting a shot in my back. But I knew that this was going to be an ongoing journey. You know, there are no quick fixes in life. And you know, if you don't have your health, there's, you know, things start to tumble and fall apart from there. So
Without a doubt, health is the greatest wealth, whatever age. I tell everyone, I mean, part of our mission is rock your health, rock the world. Because
100%.
without it,
agreed.
nothing.
Agreed. 100%. So, and through that, I just started, through the physical therapy, I was introduced to Pilates, and I was just starting to do some research. And I remember I was in Atlanta at the time. I went and I met with a Pilates instructor, and I'll never forget the first class I went to in Miami. And then after that, even doing certain moves, I was like, this is it.
You fell in love with it.
I fell in love. And it was one of the things, I used to spin, I do yoga, still love all those things. But after a while, I get kind of bored. I need something new, new challenge. Pilates is the one thing that I've never gotten bored with. It's always challenging. There's always something new to learn. And I learn a lot through my clients, too. They range from their mid-20s to my eldest is 81. And they all have different...
there's hope for me.
There's hope for everyone.
There's hope. I cycle. I take, cycling classes. I run. And I've done some yoga, but I definitely, I'm willing to try. So I may have to come in for a one-on-one.
I would love that. Anytime. It would be my pleasure. And, we have a saying in Pilates, movement heals, right? And I think the quote from Joseph Pilates is, you're only as old as your spine is healthy.
Oh, wow.
So depending on your posture, your back, your mobility, your movement, right?
I feel like I'm straightening up my posture. Just look at you. You have such an amazing posture. I noticed that the evening that we met at Stiletto Strut.
Oh, thank you.
And I was just like, wow, you have this really elegant posture, and you don't do any of that slouching or anything.
I catch myself sometimes, but thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. I try to be aware of it, right? And I always I think for me too, I always found like ballerinas to be so just elegant, beautiful, and just the way that they move and flow. And Pilates can be the same thing, and that's depending on what it is that you're looking for. Some people are looking for rehab. Some people are looking for therapy. They're looking to cross-train. I train golfers, tennis players, right? So it helps with their game, and it helps them work those muscles in other ways, or even perfect in the same way as their swing, right? Helping them engage their core, tapping into the muscles that they're actually using. So
why don't you share with us a little bit, Method K, how you came up with the name and your brand and where you are right now in that whole, it's exciting. I think women that have that, well, men and women, but, particularly women, when they get that entrepreneur bug and develop a brand that they fall in love with, it's really a love story.
It is. And, I decided to call myself Method K Pilates because K for Kristy. And, of course, you get certified in Pilates, you go through all the training and everything, and all the basics and the fundamentals and everything. And then you can sometimes put your method or your spin onto it, because I also taught Legree and I taught Megaformer for a while too, which some people call Pilates boot camp, basically. It's very intense.
That's the wooden...
They're called Megaformers,
okay.
And then there's Legree as well. They're very similar, but Legree is its own thing, Megaformer, something a little bit different. But it's the machines are just a little different, but they're almost like larger Pilates reformers. And that's very intense, no matter how you cut it. So
I remember getting on one. I took a class with my son, and I won't mention where, and I was unsupervised for a few minutes and accidentally ended up doing a split that was unplanned.
Unplanned split, yeah.
And I felt it for a long time.
Right.
So, you have to really watch what you're doing, and you have to be watched, because it's
100%.
It is machinery that...
It can be dangerous, yes. And that's, I taught group classes for a long time, and sometimes you'd have 10, 12 people in there that you have to keep eyes on the whole time,
right.
Because, I don't ever want anybody getting injured, obviously, especially on my watch, and that can be taxing. It can be stressful. And so that's kind of, and while there's great energy, and I totally enjoyed that, and I did that with traditional contemporary Pilates as well as, Megaformer Pilates, but True Pilates was intended to really be done kind of 1-to-1, 1-to-2, you know, because everybody's bodies are different. Everyone's needs are different, right? I have some clients who are looking to lose weight or looking to get really toned, build some muscle. I have others who are looking to rehab, you know, after hip surgery, knee surgery, cross-train, like I'd mentioned before, increase flexibility, mobility, stability. Even as we get older, like the importance of foot health and our balance when we walk, you know, and how our hips are aligned or not aligned, and our shoulders, right? Some people have scoliosis. So it's interesting to see how the body is, I mean, it's just very connected, how one thing can kind of lead to another, and it's all... Right. It's all kind of like a dance in and of itself. So, you know, and at the time when I started Method K Pilates, I was actually working in the tech industry, and I had left Pilates for a little bit. I was teaching privately, and then the pandemic hit, and, you know, studios were closing, and I'm like, well, you know, and I got an offer to go back into sales. I'm like, I might as well try it. And I'll never forget one of my clients who I'd known for years, he and his wife, I had taught them for a few years, and we met when our kids were little, and he said he was bummed to see me go, and he said, Kristy, I know you're going to be back. I just know it. And sure enough, he was right. I called him about a year later, and I said, Ignacio, and he's in real estate. I said, you were right. I'm back. And you know what? Instead of going to teach at other studios, I think I want to do my own thing, like make it official, right?
How long ago was this?
This was a year ago. March. Okay. So last year in March. And he said, okay. He's like, I'm so glad to have you back. And you know, we got off the phone, and about a month later, he called me back and he said, I have a place for you. And it was perfect. So it just kind of, you know, you put the steps in motion, and you do what you need to do to set yourself up for success. But then there's an element of it where you just kind of have to see where life leads you. And I made the call. You know, I put it out there, and reached out to some old clients, and it just kind of fell into place. And it's a perfect spot for me, because I didn't want to have anything large. I wanted to start small, work privately, teach 1-on-1 or 1-to-2, so 2 people at a time, and build from there. And it's gone well.
I'm so proud of you. I really am. And what I love about your energy is, just from even the first time I met you, is this, you have this real calm, kind of loving, caring energy that I could really see you being very encouraging to someone, you know, who's starting on the process, and to kind of be gentle with the body. And I love your knowledge of the body. Well, I mean, we talked a great deal about feet, because I was still recovering from my broken toe. And I told you how it affected everything in my life. And you're like, well, you know, it all starts with the feet.
100%. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, and that's, I mean, again, you go through all your training, and like any job, really, you learn as you do, as you go, as you work, right? I mean, you think about people coming out of college, and then you think you know all this stuff, and then you realize, well, you know the basics and the fundamentals, but until you put things into play, that's when the real learning starts to happen. So I just learned so much, even through teaching, after getting my certification, and meeting all my different clients, and always being challenged by them, and really listening to them. You have to listen, right? And
absolutely
really understand what it is that they're going through. And it's ongoing learning, which I enjoy. I mean, you never get bored with anything. And I do. My brother's mother-in-law, we are all very close in our family, and she told me one day, she was a teacher for like 50 years in Boston, and she said, Kristy, you're a teacher at heart. And I thought, you're right. I actually am. And I always just associated that with school, right? And I'm like, I don't know if I'd be a great school teacher, but she was right. I like helping people through Pilates, and helping them, you know, get to where they need to be, achieve their goals, help them through rehab. And, you know, I become friends with my clients. I love it, because
that's great.
I mean, to have your oldest client be 81, and I'm proud of her. she didn't stop. She keeps moving her body. And some classes, depending on the age, the condition, right? We can make it as intense as you want, or we can make it as therapeutic as you want. So
that's fabulous.
Thank
What
you.
advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, wow. Probably a lot. I'd have to go back and really think about that. But to worry less, probably. And I probably need to tell myself that now, too. We are all consumed with everything going on in the world and social media, and you're constantly being hit with notifications, this happening, that happening, you need to be doing this, doing that. And just sometimes take a deep breath, make a list. I always did that when I was younger, make a list. If I was stressed about something or needed to figure something out, these are the things I need to do. These are the steps that I need to take. So just kind of reminding my younger self, continue to do that and, stay true to yourself, which I believe I did to a certain extent, right? I think I pushed off going into Pilates and really following my heart in the beginning. I think I always felt like I needed to be in that big kind of corporate role. And then, but I have a very supportive family, and they always said, I went to great schools and I had the education. And so it was like, I felt that was just expected of me. But my parents and even my brother, they're like, no, do what you love. Right. Because then the money comes, right? The success comes. And you can't measure success just financially, right? It's a whole picture, being happy, healthy, surrounding yourself with the right people and, trying to live more in the moment as opposed to worrying about the past or worrying about the future.
I love that. We just, in our CEO circle, had Susan Ford Collins, who has written, she's a 5-time author, and one of her books, she shadowed executives all over the world, and CNN hired her, and she's like the premier coach. Anyhow, one of the books that she wrote is, Our Children Are Watching, and how to have that discussion about success habits with our children and how to co-sign with dreams. And I mean, it's really kind of the information I wish I had when my son was, a lot younger. But even so now, just to be able to have those discussions, how does that translate now into motherhood for you?
So what, just with like the dreams and kind of aligning that up with motherhood? Well, I try to tell my son, we talk about, I feel like raising a child this day and age, right? And I'm sure every parent felt that at the time, it's hard as it is. And as we, get older and you go through the different stages of life, and now we live in the world of, again, social media, YouTube, games. And I just try, I'm very open with my little boy, I try to be as honest as possible, but also, trying to shield in certain ways, but not too much. But and we all got to do just the best that we can. But just setting him up for success, and I put a big emphasis on education, right? Balance in life and enjoying what you have, not always looking at other people and saying, "Oh, I need that. I want that. If only this, then I'll be happier." No, it's I've told him before. I said, "Do you feel loved?" And he said, yes. I said, "Do you feel safe?" He said, yes. I said, "Then you should feel happy." And he said, that. Yeah. And I actually, I heard that either from a therapist, I either read it in a book or heard it from a podcast that I was listening to, because, talking about parenting, because we're always so worried about what can I give, make them happy. And it's like, these are the basics, right? This is what we need. And then the rest can follow suit.
I'm curious, because I think every parent nowadays really tries to get their children outside and playing. You talk about the age of computer games where, they can very easily get hooked on that, digital screen and spend hours there. What are some of the ways that you encourage that? I imagine for you, it's super important.
It is. And and then going back into the Method K and my branding, right? I chose Method K Pilates because I want to brand myself to be able to branch out. Method K Wellness, Method K athletic wear, whatever it is, because I do put a big emphasis.
I expect a podcast soon.
You have to help me with that.
Yes. Well, we're going to do it.
We'll
You have
do it
so
together.
much knowledge. You have so much knowledge to share, and wellness. And we were this morning just doing a morning stretch, and you inspired me.
Well, thank you. And it's tough with the kids now because they are into all these games, and I am focused on health and wellness because it makes me feel good. I noticed that. I mean, I wasn't the healthiest in college, it's like some of the stuff we ate, but you're young and you go through life, you learn, and if I feel better, it changes everything. It changes my mood, my behavior, my thought process, everything. So I'm trying to share that with my little boy as much as I can without pushing him to the opposite extreme, or overwhelming him. Mm-hmm. But it's tough with the games. The video games, definitely a thing that they're into. And, but just keeping him involved in sports, right? So he's into basketball. And sometimes I'm like, say, if you want an hour on your game, that's fine. And then we're going to go to the pool after and we're going to swim for an hour. And he's, okay, Mom. He said, but you got to get in with me. I said, okay, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I'm happy to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's balance, right? And somebody asked me the other day, they said, is your little boy doing Pilates with you? And it's like, well, he can do planks and push-ups, maybe some of the mat Pilates stuff. I said, but as far as the machine goes, he's too small. When he's a little bit bigger, when he's a little taller. So, but yeah, just keeping that balance and keeping the body moving, right?
Love that.
So
we're doing our book of leaders. So, I've been really focused lately on leadership, and you've given me so many good quotes today that I think reflect your brand. As you look forward, 5-10 years from now, what do you think you would like to be said about your brand?
About my brand? Well, that I would love for that that I stayed true to pretty much myself, that I lived what I preached, right? That, and I do truly want to be able to help people. It's just kind of my personality. I've always cared and very much for my friends, my family. I want what's best for everyone. So, and I always said, I think that's what makes me bad at sales sometimes, because I could never sell something that I didn't truly believe in. So, I live my life the way that I do. I take the supplements that I take. I eat the way that I eat. And I'm not perfect. No one's perfect.
You look fabulous.
I don't.
You look.
Well, thank you. But
walking in this morning, everyone's like,
well, thank you. But it's the balance too. But I mean, if I'm eating clean 85% of the time, 90% of the time, sometimes 80, I'm doing all right. So I want to be real. I want to be true. I want people to look back and think, yeah, you know what? Kristy did this for me, or she helped me with this, and she stayed true to herself. And she wasn't just having me do something to, have me do it or make some money or push me onto this because it was the new fad or the next big thing. It was because this is what was right for me at that time, or even ongoing. So, yeah. And then I think it kind of just flourishes from there.
Well, you were recommended to our group by Daniela Uribe, who is another rock star.
I love her.
I mean, she's changing footwear around the world. I mean, her line of shoes, what she did for our stiletto strut, she took it, above and beyond. I'm so proud of her. And she introduced you to us, to Miami Women Who Rock, and now you're part of this YPP, and we have such a dynamic group of professional and philanthropists. But one of the things that we encourage is definitely that idea of supporting each other and also 100%. Giving back to the community. Why don't you share some of the favorite charities or things, anything that you've been exposed to that maybe you want to get involved with the group? I mean, okay. I don't know how much contact. I mean, you're fairly new to the YPP circle,
I
but
am.
they welcomed you with open arms, and
Thank you. You know what? When I lived in Chicago, I was involved with a charity group. I'm blanking on the name right now, but we helped women who were less fortunate, trying to get back into the workforce, right? And we had donated even some office attire, like work clothes, right, for corporate jobs. And we'd go in and help them prep for interviews, right? Things like that. And here in Miami, I haven't yet done anything to that capacity yet, but Susan G. Komen, I just try and give where I can, even with my son's school, the charities that we donate to there, and then donations to Susan G.
Right.
And
you supported our event, which was supporting Find a Way for Kids, which is Lorena Perozzo is the CEO and founder. She's a YPP Circle member. So, just by attending that event, you supported a great charity for kids.
Yeah, thank you. And I did Palm Beach Education Foundation when I worked up in my office was up in Boca back when I worked in tech too. So I donate to their fund, quarterly. I am all about education and, do what I can. I'd love to become more involved too. And supporting other women too. Daniela, when she brought me in, it's like, and I said, these women are different, I said, they're really doers. They're here to help one another out, support one another. And I've always been of that mindset too, where it's, don't be jealous of other people. That's not going to get you anywhere in life. And I was never the jealous type, for better or worse. I don't know, whatever. It didn't motivate me to want to be anything. I don't want to say better, because I think you have to be self-motivated to be better, and people around you can encourage you to be better. But I didn't see something and become jealous and I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I would like to be more like you and in a positive way and in a healthy way. So just being there to support one another. Daniela supported me.
Yeah. And Jennifer Nicole Lee, our circle, she's fitness, and, we try to limit the number of individuals in an industry so that they can empower and support each other and elevate each other. But, she was so excited when she pulled you over to me, and I was introduced to you like 3 times that night. So
she was amazing.
That's how I know our network is working.
I know. And her energy, and that's just, I could feel it. When I walked in the room that night, I said, yep. That event was incredible. It was just so much fun. And I think I told you, I wasn't even like feeling my best that night. I was just feeling tired. And then the minute I walked in, I'm like, oh, here I am. And I noticed that about myself, surrounding myself with the right people, right? Friends, family, and even new friends. It makes all the difference in the world for my mood, my outlook, and actually feeling more like myself. And so I was just like, this is great. This is great.
I can't wait to see what you do next.
Well, thank you.
Again, we've had Kristy Blonsky from Method K, and this is your time where you get to give your 30-second commercial on how someone can reach you, engage with you, follow you, and tell us.
So you can follow me on Instagram. Right. I am Method K Pilates on Instagram, Method_K_Pilates. And you have my website there. You can call me, email me. All of my information's on my website. And if beginners, advanced, wherever you are, you're never too old or too anything to start Pilates, right? I remember being in training one time right in the beginning when I was working on my certification. I was at a studio, and they had a gentleman who was handicapped in a wheelchair, and he was there for his Pilates. And I was like, wow,
nice.
It's incredible. So when we say it's for everybody, it's everybody. But yes, you will find all my information there. I'm in the Upper East Side neighborhood, kind of by the Cushman School, Morningside neighborhood of Miami. I'm located in a beautiful little house that's gated that we converted into offices. And so it's a very peaceful, calm, intimate setting. And it's all about you or you and a friend or a partner, because I can teach one-on-one or 2 people at a time. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Loved having you on here and spotlight on your experience and everything that you're doing. Can't wait to see what you do next. I can't wait to see what we do next, because I definitely have some plans for you, and it's just wonderful having you on. And thank you for believing in us and joining our YPP circle. And thank you for joining us on Spotlight TV. We will see you next Thursday, 10 a.m. live with Community Newspapers. We're very grateful to the entire production team here at Community Newspapers that brings together this show and does it with such love and care. So see you